Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Do Something Else? I was around 16 at the time when I was being offered to work at a community center for 2 nights, making $70 a week. As a high schooler, $70 a week makes me feel like the richest kid in school, so I agreed. My main job is cafeteria assistant from 5:30 to 9 PM, and it's extremely relaxing, most of the time. I just have to prep, cook very little, handle cashier stuff and help the main cook. She is around 80, so she does need a bit of physical assistance as well. It is not difficult by any means. And after a while, I started to understand the pattern of when it's a busy time and when it's a relaxing time. The reason they open the cafeteria around that time is that during those hours they open the gym floor for bingo night. There are staffs outside the cafeteria as well, who are selling bingo tickets, number caller, greeter and the manager. At random times, when it is usually quiet in the cafeteria, my manager asked if I can help the floor by going around selling tickets and merchandise. Usually it was at reasonable times, when I know I can leave my main cook to be on her own, so I never refused. Also, the customers sometimes gave me tips when their tickets are a winner, so that's good as well. One day, when I came to one of my shifts, I suddenly felt like something was off. The hall is packed more than usual, even a few people are standing while playing bingo, because all of their chairs and tables are occupied. By that time, I know that the cafeteria is going to be busy, so I waste no more time and get to work on lots of prepping and boiling hot dogs. I was prepping extra because I'm anticipating the dinner rush. During the prepping time, my manager suddenly came to the cafeteria, and without hesitation, she told me to drop whatever I'm doing and go out to the floor to help her sell tickets. I told her that I just got here and my plan to prep extra for the dinner rush, but she wouldn't budge. Even the words of the main chef fall on her deaf ears. She told me that I have prepped enough and to stop wasting time. Well, who am I to question a manager's decision, right? I happily obliged with her order, took the tickets off her hands and off I go. Not a minute after I got to the floor, I saw the very first customer coming to the window of the cafeteria, and I was immediately thinking, let the games begin. From the floor, I can see into the inside of the cafeteria. My manager, who didn't get a chance to leave after telling me to go out, has to serve the customer, because the main chef is taking over my duty to prep. However, as I mentioned earlier, the main chef is an 80-year-old senior, so her taking over my duty is almost impossible. I am literally doing all of the heavy liftings because I'm physically capable. She is not. She is even having trouble handling transactions because her eyesight isn't good. It takes her a short while to determine certain dollar bills. Anyway, that one customer at the cafeteria becomes 2. Then after a few seconds, my prediction was correct. After I made it down to the end of the gym floor, I turned back, and there is now a long line of customers in front of the cafeteria. I can't hear what's going on, because the end of the gym floor is pretty far from the cafeteria. But I can judge by the silhouette of my manager's body movement and the customer in front of her that things do not look good. I think my manager saw me looking at the cafeteria, because she was clearly raving at me, assumingly telling me to go back. We don't have a microphone in the cafeteria. However, instead of walking back in line at the second column directly back to the cafeteria, I started walking to the furthest corner of the gym floor from the cafeteria. I pretended to sell tickets, when all I'm doing is chatting with a player during the short break. The player was my favorite customer as well, and she did buy a few tickets for me. Right after I made the transaction, the bingo caller started to make an announcement that they were going to start again in 30 seconds. I took a quick look at the cafeteria, and it looked chaotic. From the looks of the silhouette, it looks like my manager is having an argument with a couple of irate customers. Again, I'm just assuming that my manager isn't quick enough to get the order out before the game started. I was chilling there for about 25 seconds, watching the chaos unfold, before the bingo caller announced that he's going to start in 5 seconds. Immediately, all of the customers in line disbanded and go to their original place, hungry and thirsty and still irate. I started walking again, and I see that my manager has now disappeared from the cafeteria and started walking towards me on the floor, looking disheveled. Calmly, I asked if everything is okay in there. She looked mad, but she knows better not to explode in front of all of the players, and just told me as calmly as she could to go back to the cafeteria. I tried poking the bear by asking her what to do with the tickets, because I still have some. She just snatched them off my hands aggressively along with the money, but from the shock of her aggression, I accidentally dropped everything to the floor. Imagine playing 52 catch, but with money and bingo tickets. Before I could offer my help to pick everything up, she just growled at me silently to just go. Alright then. When I'm back, it was a mess. There are some water bottles and soda cans rolling on the floor. The main chef is sitting down on the chair, looking exhausted. I really feel bad for her. Coffee pots are empty, condiments are smeared all over the table, and so on. It's pure chaos. Luckily, I know the routine well enough to recover the situation, and at the next break I was prepared well enough to handle the wave of customers, even the previously irate ones. The main chef has recovered enough too. Fortunately, most of the regulars already know me, so they are nice and patient with me. Nothing like my manager, who didn't know as much as me about the cafeteria. After the wave is over, I took the time to prep again for the next one, and suddenly my manager walked in. It looks like she calmed down just enough to compose herself to approach me. Instead of walking away, she's coming at me. After seeing the state of recovery I just pulled, she asked why I didn't come back when the cafeteria was busy. I told her that I didn't know, I was too far away, and she told me to sell tickets, so I assumed that I'm not allowed to come back until I sold everything. She didn't really have much to say after that, took a bottle of water and just left. The main chef and I just started laughing silently after the manager left. Never underestimate the pettiness of a teenager. The next story is called No Shorts. I work at an office that sells bulk goods to businesses that use them, like retail outlets, etc. Our office doesn't usually have a strict dress code, but we recently got a new boss who's just a pain. He is constantly yelling at everyone about basic things, like punching in a minute or two late/early or being a word or two off the script during outbound/inbound calls. Dealing with him, in general, has made me hate the job more. As it's getting hotter, I've been wearing khaki shorts to work for the past few days. This is something I've always done for the past few years, and nobody has confronted me about it before, so I figured nothing would change this year. But boy, was I wrong. About halfway through my shift, this boss comes to my desk and realizes I'm wearing shorts and is visibly annoyed. He mutters something under his breath and goes back to his office. An hour later, I was called into his office, where he proceeded to berate me about breaking the dress code. He was fuming and ended the meeting with, "From now on, you follow the dress code to the book, or you are fired." That night, I went home and read up on the dress code rules. There was, in fact, a rule against shorts, so I was annoyed, but kept on. And then I found it. There is no rule preventing males to wear skirts/kilts. I immediately ordered a pink and white striped kilt online, as well as matching knee-high socks and a shirt. There were no rules stated in the dress code against any of this, surprisingly. About a week later, the clothes arrived, and here's what ensued the following workday. I rocked in, wearing my new pink business outfit, and immediately the whole office is staring at me. The boss, who came in to cover another boss's shift in the morning, was beat red in the face and yelled at me to come in his office. He goes on a 10-minute rant about how I am a useless employee and that he is going to fire me for not following the dress code to a T. I simply stated, "I am in dress code. I urge you to read the employee handbook." He ended up reading the whole thing in front of me, and I could see him getting angrier and angrier as he realized I didn't break any rules. I asked him, "Am I free to go back to work?" He looked at me with a death glare, muttered something under his breath and waved me off. The last story is called Do It This Way. I'm working at a factory making brake tubes. We operate at pretty high numbers, around 30k finished tubes per 24 hours. Our former planner was, in my and my coworkers' opinions, pretty good at her job. But she quit recently and we got a new guy. Not new at the company and probably knows his job well, but from his first production plan for the week, it was clear he never even stopped to think or asked how things work at our workplace. The warehouse gives us raw tubes, we put screws on them and flare the ends and repack the finished products in big metal boxes. The raw tubes also come in those, so we reuse the boxes when they are empty. We followed the new plan loosely, only switching some clearly non-optimal ordering. Stuff like, first, changing tools to set 1, second, making tubes for an hour, third, changing tools to set 2, fourth, making tubes with those tools for another hour, fifth, returning the tool set to 1 and continuing production. As it is more optimal to try to keep tool switching, thus machine downtime, as rare as possible. Also, when the plan was for 4,000 parts of one type and we had materials for 4,500 parts, we finished it all. We wanted to avoid adding warehouse manipulators more work by putting the remaining materials back in the warehouse. And we also got one free metal box that manipulators don't have to bring. More often than not, we are short of the boxes we need. All troubles peaked when I had an afternoon shift and I was there by myself. Usually we are 2 setters on a shift, but my shift coworker was sick. And so, to make things easier for me, the morning shift kept the toolset they were using. I jumped to the end of the plan to do 250 tubes with the same toolset and then jump back and change the toolset only once. I finished the product, changed tools, and my boss came to tell me the customer called that they don't want the tubes anymore, so we shouldn't have made them. If I went along with the plan, I wouldn't have made them. Alright, that was our fault, we admitted. But then the planner guy wrote us an angry email, telling us to follow the plan exactly as he made it, and to not make more tubes than the plan calls for. We all decided to stick to the letter exactly. 200 pieces of 1 meter long tube remains in a 5 meters long box, send it back to the warehouse. Changing tools 4 times in 4 hours when we could do it just once. Alright, more downtime, less work for us. The first 2 shifts next week returned 7 boxes to the warehouse. We had slightly more work because we ran out of metal boxes, which were sitting in the warehouse with 200 to 500 raw tubes inside them. We had to use wooden boxes, which are narrower, so you only put slightly more than half the amount compared to the metal box, but we persevered. Finally, this week at our bosses meeting, they found out our effectiveness went down. Not by much, but still. Our warehouse leader complained his staff had to move more boxes than before. Suddenly, we are told we can finish raw tubes if there are less than around 700 tubes, and we can move around the plan order if it's too wrongly ordered. Also, the planner finally accepted our input on how to plan, so we don't have too much downtime changing toolsets. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. And I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.